Hello everybody, I'm Dan Murrell and I'm here today to talk about a pop culture sensation that shows no signs of slowing down. If you've been paying attention to the world of streaming or music in the last several weeks, you've probably heard of K-Pop Demon Hunters. It's poised to be Netflix's most watched movie or show of the year, and it's doing it in a way that's completely unlike Netflix's past big hits. So I wanted to dive into just how this movie became such a huge hit and why we may not see anything like it again in the near future. But first, if you haven't heard of the movie, here's a little background. K-Pop Demon Hunters is a Netflix original film that debuted on the streaming service on June 20th of this year. The project was announced in 2021 by Sony Pictures Animation, and in February of 2023, Sony officially confirmed that the movie would premiere on Netflix. While the animation studio is the same behind movies like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the creative team behind the film are all relatively new names. Director Maggie Kang came up with the idea for her directorial debut after years of working on movies like The Grinch, the Lego Ninjago movie, and Trolls. Her co-director, Chris Applehans, was also an animation veteran who wrote and directed the 2021 animated film Wish Dragon. Together with first-time feature screenwriters Danya Jimenez and Hannah McMecken, the group set out to make what Kang described as a love letter to K-pop and her Korean roots. K-Pop Demon Hunters focuses on a K-pop girl group named Huntrix, who are also the latest in a long line of planetary guardians, keeping the world safe from demons who want to feed on humanity's souls. What the group doesn't know is that their lead vocalist Rumi is also part demon, which could splinter the group forever. And things get more complicated when a group of demons comes to Earth to form a competing K-pop band called the Saja Boys to dethrone Huntrix and finally harvest the world's souls. Even though Rumi and Jinu, the demon leader of the Saja Boys, should be enemies, they find themselves drawn to one another even though their bandmates could never understand why they're not trying to kill each other instead. Packed with catchy songs, effective humor, and compelling characters, K-Pop Demon Hunters was immediately a critical hit with a 97% score on Rotten Tomatoes and a rating of 76 on Metacritic, and audiences have also responded strongly to the film, not only watching the movie on streaming, but also making the movie's soundtrack the top-selling soundtrack of the year, with 2 singles currently sitting in the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts. Its hit status, however, is most apparent on Netflix, where it has consistently been ranked in the top 10 and is already the 4th most watched movie ever on the service when you count views in the first 90 days of release. But it's not just remarkable that the movie is such a huge success, it's how it's been able to achieve that success that makes K-Pop Demon Hunters unlike any other film in the all-time Netflix top 10. In its first 3 days, when many Netflix original movies score their biggest numbers, K-Pop Demon Hunters brought in a respectable 9.2 million views, ending the week as the 2nd most watched program on the streamer, but well behind the Netflix original film Straw, which continued its run at the top of the charts with 20 million views. But word of mouth was already beginning to spread, with songs from the soundtrack rising up the charts on Spotify and posts on social media raving about the movie. It popped up on my radar because I kept getting comments on YouTube asking if I'd seen the film, which I did eventually watch, and it's among my favorites of the year so far. The next week, K-Pop Demon Hunters more than doubled its viewership to 24.1 million views, ranking 2nd behind the debut of Squid Game Season 3. In its 3rd week, viewership stayed steady with 22.6 million views and a 3rd place finish. Then, in its 4th week, the movie's viewership set a new high with 24.2 million views and a number 1 finish on the Netflix charts. Viewership ticked up again in week 5 to 25.7 million views, and another first place finish ticked up again in week 6 to 26.3 million views, and in its most recent week on the charts, K-Pop Demon Hunter brought in 26.2 million views, basically even with the previous week's record high number. It's easy to marvel at how many total views the movie has earned so far, 158 million, making it Netflix's 2nd most watched program of the year, soon to eclipse the number 1 program, the Jamie Foxx Cameron Diaz film Back in Action. But how the movie has gotten those views is unprecedented in the history of Netflix's most watched films. Like movies at the box office, Netflix original movies tend to see their biggest numbers in the first 2 weeks. Sometimes a movie will come out of the gate strong, then see a smaller but still impressive view total in week 2, like we just saw with Happy Gilmore 2. Sometimes a movie will have a strong week week 1 and a huge week 2 as word of mouth spreads like we saw with Straw several weeks ago. But it is unheard of for a popular Netflix original movie to debut to a modest audience, then pick up steam and essentially stay steady across multiple weeks. To illustrate, this is a chart showing the weekly viewership data for the other movies that Netflix counts as the most watched of all time across their first 90 days of release, except for Bird Box and Red Notice because their releases predate Netflix providing weekly viewership data. As you can see, the pattern for all of them is the same, with a big week 1 and week 2, then a gradual descent out of the week's most watched programs, except for K-Pop Demon Hunters, which you can see in pink. While it has never achieved a weekly number as high as a movie like Carry On or Damsel, its longevity on the chart is unlike anything we've seen before, given its success. All of those other movies are performing like an MCU film or a DC movie would perform at the box office. K-Pop Demon Hunters is performing like Titanic, weekly consistent viewership that is slowly making it one of Netflix's most watched movies ever. Even the Netflix original series Adolescence, which had a similar story of a respectable debut followed by explosive growth due to word of mouth, saw viewership numbers steadily decline as the weeks wore on. What Netflix has on their hands right now is a unicorn, a critically successful word-of-mouth hit with unstoppable momentum, drawing fans across all age ranges that feeds into music and merchandising and gives the streamer an opportunity to build their first movie franchise that truly breaks into pop culture at large. How many other Netflix original movies do you remember people still talking about 6 weeks after they came out? In many ways, it's what Netflix tried to do earlier this year with Joe and Anthony Russo's The Electric State, which was reportedly Netflix's most expensive film ever and was launched with a ton of hype, but earned poor reviews and middling audience reception. According to Netflix viewership data, K-Pop Demon Hunters has more than doubled the viewership of The Electric State so far, despite costing, according to some reports, less than 1/3 as much. It seems the audience at home is going to watch what they want to, not what Netflix says they should be watching. Netflix is already mounting an Oscar push for the film because it also played in the mandated small number of theaters to be eligible. K-Pop Demon Hunters will be available on the Academy's official viewing platform when it launches this upcoming Friday, and you can expect a big push for the movie in the original song category as well. Naturally, Netflix is doing what any other studio would do, which is to make immediate plans to wring as much out of this franchise as possible. The Wrap reported last month that they are considering multiple sequels, a stage musical, and a live-action remake. But even if those follow-ups fail to match the success of the first film, K-Pop Demon Hunters may inspire Netflix and other studios to pursue similar projects. High-quality, authentic, fan-friendly movies appealing to quote-unquote niche markets that can cross over and become massive mega hits. Or we'll just get a bunch of sequels and knockoffs. But hey, it doesn't hurt to dream big, right? So that is a brief rundown of the unique success story with K-Pop Demon Hunters. What do you think? Have you seen the film? Do you think that it matches the hype and the viewership that it's gotten so far? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, stay tuned right here for the latest in movie news, reviews, box office, and more. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you then. Bye.